Good morning, everyone. So today I'm speaking on how to build a chatbot with Python. So recently you must have seen that there are many companies who are launching their chatbots, which are usually known as virtual agents, which can execute some task for you or talk to you. The most common example of what we have heard is like, say, Amazon Echo, which listens to what you say and then responds accordingly. So today I am going through the very basics of building a chatbot using Python. It obviously wouldn't give you an end product, but it's the once I complete all the sections of building a chatbot, it just needs to be iterated more and expanded more rather than using much other things to build a final product. So why a chatbot? So basically what we did before chatbots was usually FAQs. So FAQs had a particular set of questions that had a particular defined answer, and they weren't customized. And with the recent influx of data, what we have seen is customization at all levels, whether it's recommendation systems or whether it's the recommended for you or suggested for you products on Amazon or Flipkart. So a chatbot is a development which now incorporates your personal choices and your personal data into what it talks about to you. So you wouldn't prefer, like, say I'm making a chatbot for Domino's and you are a vegetarian, and previously from Domino's you had ordered a vegetarian pizza and you have been doing that since, say, last 2 times or last 3 times. So you wouldn't prefer if the chatbot gives you an option today of a deal on non-vegetarian pizza. That wouldn't be useful for you at all. So it needs to incorporate intelligence into what it responds and what it suggests, and that's why it's that particular part is new in this field. So what is AIML? We'll be trying to make a chatbot using AIML today. So AIML is basically something like, it's just a more developed version of XML. It doesn't incorporate much of natural language processing, rather than it incorporates more of pattern matching and pattern identification. It uses internally string matching algorithms to discard words and to discard redundant words as well. So AIML stands for Artificial Intelligence Markup Language. What it does is, you basically write it as XML. How you write XML is a hierarchy of tags, one after the another. So we'll see what tags are used in AIML. AIML defines the queries and the patterns to match, and then it also defines the responses to give for that pattern. So you can have one response for one pattern, or you can have multiple responses for one pattern, or you can have one response for multiple patterns as well. AIML was developed by Richard Wallace for AliceBot. AliceBot was the first attempt at making a emotional conversational bot which would act as a psychologist for you. So it was basically made to emulate a psychologist in a field where there are not many people, or not many people aware in third world countries who can go to a psychologist and afford its fees. So Alice was made to basically be able to replicate how it works and how the psychologist would speak given such a situation, that the patient, say a patient is saying that I am feeling sad, so what a psychologist would say. They obviously wouldn't say that, oh, then you should probably have fun. So what they would probably suggest you are some ways to, you should watch a preppy movie or something like that. So AliceBot, for AliceBot, Richard Wallace developed the AIML language. Okay, sorry about it going down. So the basic terms in AIML are the 3 things: category, pattern, and template. So category is the basic unit of AIML, something like, say, if you have been using text blob. So a blob is a basic unit in text blob module for sentiment analysis. So here a category is a basic unit of AIML. Pattern is what you want to be searched for. So what the user is saying and you want it to be searched in a multitude of options. So pattern is what the search query, what is the search query and what has to be searched for in the search query. And the template is the response to the matched search query. So if the bot finds in AIML a matching search query, and then it would generate a response. So template is that response where we specify what the user has to actually get as a response from the bot. So let's start with the very basics. Would you prefer if I showed the screenshots of the code, or would you prefer that I showed it in Sublime and run it? Okay, so just a minute. It's not visible. Is it visible? Command. Is it okay now? So what we are doing here is, firstly we are stating the AIML version like we do for any XML file, and then we are defining the encoding that we are writing in, whether it's UTF or ASCII or whatever. And then we are starting with the category. So category is a basic unit. It's the basic unit of encapsulation. Then we define a pattern which would be load AIMLB. So the AIML module we would be using with Python internally has to match this pattern, that load AIMLB. So whatever the learn template would be there, that it would use to generate responses for the user. So whenever it sees load AIMLB, like load AIML bot, so it sees the file in the template, and then there is a value called learn. So it learns from that AIML file. So whatever file we mentioned there. So whatever file you mentioned there would be basically used for generating the responses. So say, let's start with a very basic one. So okay, let me first show how to write that file. So this was how the startup file. Now we want to create the basic chat.aiml file. So what we do is, okay, so what we do is we are now creating a AIML file which we would be loading as the learning category of the bot we mentioned before in the startup. So what it does is we define the AIML version, and these are the comments which define the name of the file. And then because we know category is a very basic unit of an AIML file, so we define a category, and then we define a pattern hello. So now it doesn't have any wildcards. So what AIML does is it ignores the punctuation, but if you write hello bot, it wouldn't recognize here. But if you just write hello, it would. To recognize hello bot, you would put it as hello star. Something like we do in, say, SQL, like we put stars as wildcards. So hello star would identify all the matching words, whereas just hello would match. Like if I just write hello, then only it would be matched. The template is the response what the chatbot has to generate. So it generates well hello. So and then we can define another set of questions and responses. So say the another question is, what are you? So it responds as, I am a bot silly. So like if I run it right now, is there any way to increase the size of the terminal text? Of the terminal text as well? this was our try file, and in there I'll show how it works and then we'll see how to write the try file. So it's loading this std startup.xml, the first file we wrote, which basically defines which AIML file to write. And then from std startup.xml, it realized that it has to load the basic chat AIML for learning, so it loads that. Now, we defined patterns for hello. So if I write hello, it responds what we wrote in the template. So now if I write so it matches the pattern, ignores the punctuation, and then it responds as we wrote in the template. How to write the try file is as follows. Okay, so what we basically do is we firstly pip install AIML, which is a module which works. The AIML module initially worked only with Python 2. There has been recently a Py3 AIML, which is still not stable. So I'm using Python 2 right now to show this. So we import the AIML module. Then we create a kernel. Kernel is basically using that AIML module. We are creating a chatbot interface, a space to interact with the bot that we have learned from. So we create a kernel, and then we kernel.learn std startup.xml. So what it basically does is it says that it has to learn from the file mentioned in this XML file. So we mentioned basic chat.aiml in this file, and then it does kernel.respond load AIMLB. So what we did here, this load AIMLB here is matched to this load AIMLB here. So now the kernel has learned from from the file that has been responded to by load AIMLB. So load AIMLB gives it the file basic chat.aiml, and then the kernel is now basically working on that file. So now we are just making a endless loop till someone presses exit. So we write a message and take it as an input, and then if it is exit, I break out of the loop, and otherwise we print kernel.respond message. So we pass what the user has said to the kernel through the respond function, and otherwise if it exits, we print exit message. So this is basically how we build a very basic pattern matching chatbot using AIML. So here again, if you write the same thing, so it will respond this way. Now this is a very basic response file, right? So this I can even code in C++ and say that if input double equal to hello, and then I want to see out or print that well hello. So now we are changing it to at least be able to generate some random responses. So what we do is, these two I left the same. So we made another basic underscore chat1.aiml. So these two categories I left the same, if it is hello and what are you. Now the next category I made is matching pattern with you, know, and star. So if the sentence starts with you know and there are any number of words after you know, then I'm making a template which is a response, and then I'm using a tag random and defining what all it can say. So it will choose any one out of it to respond to your statement. So how does, and every random response has to be mentioned by using li, which we basically use in HTML list. So these all are the responses it can choose from whenever it gets you know and some words. So here we are doing two things. We are choosing random responses, and we are also matching patterns which have multiple words using a wildcard. So what I will do is, in my std startup.xml, I'll change the learning file to basic chat1. So now I changed to basic chat1, so this time it loaded basic chat1.aiml. Now with hello it would work the same. I think it should work with the new category we added. Totally random response, but okay. So this is one of the random responses mentioned here. This is one of the random responses mentioned here. So when we type anything after it takes up one of the random responses here and then replies to it. Now, after this, say that this is too much work to create all the patterns to match for and to generate all the responses that you would want. So AliceBot, the person who created AliceBot, has a good index of AIML files that you can at least use for a very basic chatbot that you want to develop. So say there's a chat file called as emotion.aiml. So it basically mentions a very sarcastic response which matches the pattern "you are an idiot" and it responds with "oh so are you." I can show that file here. So it's emotion.aiml and it has many patterns and categories to match from, so that you don't have to write. So if you are building a very basic emotion conversation chatbot, you can just use this. It has many lines and many categories. It has almost 153 categories already inbuilt to match from, and it has responses defined as well. But most of the responses are like the last category you can see, "you will be happy," and it is matched with a wildcard, so it is responding with happiness is not really a predictable emotion. So it is not very well versed to your specific task, but it shows how you can, what kind of patterns you can define or what kind of responses you can give in an AIML file. So this is how you install the AIML module, and this is how we build the kernel. Now, if you have many AIML files and then you want to speed up the brain load, basically the AIML file is called the brain. So what it does is to speed up the loading and to basically build a cache. What we do is kernel.bootstrap, we make a brain file, and then if it has a brain file, if it doesn't have a brain file, then we bootstrap from the running files and save a brain file, and if it does have a brain file, then we directly bootstrap from that brain file. So okay. Now this doesn't remember anything about what the user said before. So say I'm talking about my dog and I have told the chatbot my dog's name before, and later when that chatbot is talking to me and it doesn't remember my dog's name, I would not really feel good. At least with a person I wouldn't feel good. So I would want my bot to remember what I had said before. So how do we do that is, we have two ways to do that. So either we can save it in the kernel file, like the kernel we just created. So how to save it in the kernel file I'll show here. So in the kernel file, sorry I'm not able to extend that. No. So we create a session ID basically and then set a session data. It is basically very equivalent to what you do for a Java caching of a session, like when you are doing a shopping cart website and you have to save that save the state of the shopping cart to someone's like what you do in a cookie, right? So you make a session data, get session data, and then you set the values, key value pair. So it's the same thing. You are setting a predicate where this is the key, this is the value, and this is the session ID of the user. The choice way to do it is to change the file, the AIML file itself. So what I'll do is I'll show how to change in the AIML file itself. So basically what this does is, here we have basic chat2.aiml, so these are the same. Now we make another category called as my best friend is star. So here we'll have a name, usually my best friend is star. Now what it does is it's responding with some statement. O is that name in the same school, and it's also setting a key value pair where the key is best friend and the value is the star here. So what it does is with best friend, it defines this name as the value here. So now when there is a pattern, I went out with my friends, say, I'm using a wildcard here, so I say that I went out with my friends to the mall. So it responds with, oh, was, and then this best friend's name that we stored before there. So it's I can show you how it runs. So now it, so it responds like this. So here we had defined a pattern for my best friend is star, and then O is, and this person is set to best friend variable. Now when I use the same thing again, so I went out with my friends to the mall. So now it's using the best friend that we defined before, the name we defined before, and asking, oh, was John there? So it's dependent upon the session data that you are using, and it's remembering what you wrote about your friend as well. So this is how you use the AIML files. The other ways to build a chatbot would probably be to use the nltk.chat package. What it does, the chat package does, is it has a very huge data set of reviews, and there's a data set called ELIZA, which was trained as a bot. So you can actually imitate human responses using ELIZA. But NLTK, in my personal opinion, I found nltk.chat to be less customizable than AIML, so I wouldn't prefer it. But Chatbot is something that is good, but it doesn't have any self-trained data. So you have to first initially find a set of training data, even probably from your original, like if your company had a chat session with some representatives, and then you can use those transcripts to train a chatbot, but it has very less initially trained data. So if you are not training it on your company's data, it produces very random results usually. The other thing is with.ai. How many of you know about with.ai? Okay, so with.ai is basically a wraparound around the natural language processing part. So what it does is when you write you basically create stories with it using entities. So when you write a statement, it automatically captures the entities in the statement. These entities are either predefined or you can define them as well. So the predefined entities range from, say, age or money, like I spent $20 today. So you can define a chatbot that basically reminds you of your expenses, that, okay, it also has a reminder entity, like I want to do this today. So from a natural language, it will understand that this is the task you want to do, and you can say execute, you can use with.ai to execute a particular command, probably open up your a PDF, a particular PDF or a particular PowerPoint presentation to read from. And then the good part about with.ai is that you can use it to learn other entities as well. So say you are working for a pizza company, and then you want to learn and you want the bot to learn the names of the pizza, say double cheese pizza, crunch pizza. So once you start giving it examples like, okay, crunch pizza is a pizza entity, and then double cheese pizza is a pizza entity, or say margarita is a pizza entity, then after around 4 or 5 examples, it starts finding entities on its own. How do you involve Python in it? So how much time is left? 10 minutes. Okay. So I wouldn't go over it much, but this is how with.ai works. So say I'm creating a story which says I am from a particular country. So it will recognize that this place is a location, and then the bot can use this location variable to respond something to it, or it can also use it to execute a task here. I would show you how to do the part where you link it with Python. So this is how you link it with Python. So you're importing sys just to read in the command line argument of your access token, and then from wit import wit. The wit is a module that is a wrapper to access the wit.ai API, and then it sets access token as the argument you gave it, and then you can just basically use it like this. So access token is this. We define a function send which requests and receives a response, and when it sends, it prints the response that it has received. Actions is send is defined to the function, matched to the function send here, and then we establish a client with wit function with wit module where access token is the one defined here, and the actions is the one defined here, and then we make the client interactive. So whatever the user types, it will send it as a API request to the wit.ai access token story that you have, and then whatever response it gets from there, it will print it here. That's basically it. I think someone in the last talk mentioned some library from CMU, which is local. I would like to hear that again. Who did that? Okay, so these are the libraries I usually found good for developing a chatbot. Any questions?
Thanks for the interesting session. One question around AIML. Can you create nested categories, as in now, let us say I want to do X, and then chain to that I want to do Y, and chain to that I want to do Z. Is it possible to do that, or is it separate categories?
So you have to establish separate categories, but you can set the linking. So inside the category where you set the template response, you can link it to the next category by some key, by a key. So you can keep the same key in different categories, and then link it together.
Okay.
You can like not use category and then inside it another category.
No, I just wanted to check if there was some way of linking or establishing a chain.
You can establish a chain. Like say the first question is hello, and then you respond hello, and then how was your day, and then related to you want to respond. So you can set a key value pair that links it together.
Okay.
But just you can't nest the tags inside one another.
Okay, thank you. Then that answers my question. Thank you.
Hi. I also have a bit of same kind of question, but it's related to the pattern tag in AIML. So you give a wildcard after, for example, a phrase is there, and you give a wildcard. And if the phrase matches, the bot is going to give you an output. Just want to ask, can we have sub-classification inside those wildcards? So like again, we can have sub-patterns inside those wildcards?
So yes, there is something called as a tag called strai. So what it does is it takes the phrase, and then you can define that, okay, if the star is like this, the part of the phrase that is not mentioned, and the wildcard part, if you want to check what that is, then you can use a strai tag and then define responses based on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Just want to ask around, what are the data like sources we can have? One, we can fetch from the internet, maybe. Is there any online data source, and are there any other like platforms also
For training a bot?
Yeah.
So when I have made two projects, one of them was basically what they did was they used the internal customer representative transcript data to train the chatbot, because then that chatbot was exclusively like inclined towards their company. Otherwise, what people usually do is according to your work, like if it's a company work, or if it's an emotion-based work, or if it's an execution or reminder-based work, there are lots of data set which have a set of transcripts available from sources. Otherwise, I don't know how you can generate a huge data set rather than picking it online as well.
And do you know any source on online where we can have the data?
It depends on what area it is. So I know about the data set for emotion data set. So it basically has a lot of chats from anonymized psychologist transcripts. So what they did was they took the handwritten notes from psychologists from various parts of US, and they transcribed it into the computer, and then they have created a huge data set of around 100 million rows or so. So that is what I know of. There's one company data set as well. I don't know which company it is from. Other data sets I'm probably not sure of where to find them.
In pattern matching, can we have our own regex pattern matching and capture groups?
Oh, okay, I haven't tried that. I would love to check that and get back to you.
Okay, so is there any way to add logic into the files? If else, like have a different flow based on previous conditions. You said that we could have tags and connect them, but is there any way to add if else logic?
No, you'll have to check the values probably, like when we're getting the values, you can check those and define another category as well, but you can't, you mean to say inside the template you want to add, like if this is this, then respond this, or so you'll have to define another category for each if else each if else logic part.
Hi. I had a question that I'm not so much familiar with wit.ai, so just an open-ended question that even though it reduces a lot of overhead, I couldn't make sense that, I could write this code with a lot of if cases and have an hash function to generate the patterns.
Okay, just a second. Have you worked with wit.ai?
No, I haven't, but from the looks, it's all the training data is being fit into a model, and then you are evaluating. So
the thing is about wit.ai, the best thing is that you don't need to know, until unless it's a very specific task, you don't need to know what the specific pattern is to match. So if there's time, I can show you So basically what it does here is, I'm not telling it anything about what to match and what not to match. So it has a predefined model. It's something like you can obviously write it with if-else loops and train a model on your own and then define, okay, this is this type of entity or this is this type of entity. Like it has many types of entity. It has age of a person or agent or amount of money. So these are the entities you get to use directly without actually training your own data set or trying to find matching patterns. And what I also find helpful when I have to make a quick slapdash chatbot is that it doesn't matter what order your words are in or what order they are functioning in. It would generate the entity just from the sentence itself. You can obviously use NLTK and then tokenize it and then use it to mark the part of speech, like this is noun or this is, then that's what it wraps around on. So you can directly use it and then it finds out what type of query it is or what type of entity it is, and then you can directly use that variable in your response.
Okay. So just a follow-up question, this is also an open-ended question only. You must have heard about Google Allo and its recent release.
Yes.
So, I mean, have you read about any, I mean, if it's your interest, I just wanted to know that these guys are also training the data set with a lot of data, or is there any further technology to improve?
No, they are also training with a lot of data set. Like there is a neural network module by Facebook right now, I think called as fast text or something like fast text. So it is also openly available. So they have a huge amount of data to train on, which is anonymous and not related to users, like not identifiable users at least. So they have a huge amount of data, and now they are training it with deep learning neural networks. So that's how they are generating responses or generating what to speak on.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Here, to your left. So how do you deal with like people typing in SMS lingo or typos or mixing up other languages?
Okay, right now I didn't show here, but there are various modules to convert the SMS language into a properly defined dictionary word. So even NLTK itself has a corpus which transforms a single U to YOU, and then it converts like the SMS language like numeral 2 to TO. So like when we send the message to the bot, like where I'm sending the response, like print kernel.respond the message. So what I basically do usually is use that NLTK module to first process that message into a readable dictionary word sentence and then send it to the bot so that it understands, rather than doing it on the bot end.
Any more questions? Thanks for that interesting speech.
Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, there is a short announcement here. So if any one of you would like to deliver a lightning talk, come to the registration desk. There are limited number of slots. Lightning talks are basically 5-minute flash talks. So come quickly. Mic. Or come directly to me.